Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know, I'm just a regular guy, kind of an old regular man, and I value my safety and that of my family, and I appreciate the police and the legal system. But today, that makes me a right-wing extremist. My grandmother used to say, ay, 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 ay. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Let's start the week off right. Call me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, starting off a brand new week, the Monday, March 18th. Good morning, and of course, thanks to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a great big spring tire sale going on right now. Don't you miss it. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and they're helping you to get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and start things off right with the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Absolutely appreciate it, Wheels. Thank you very much. And right now it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Roger, good morning over there at 256 South 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. And K&R Rental, they offer the best, underline that, tools and equipment. You better believe it, for any job you're looking up to. I'll tell you what, it's springtime, cleanup time, and they've probably got all the tools that you need. So give them a call. If you're not sure what you need, ask them, talk to them. 678-3122, K&R Rental. Right now, here's the weather.
We're looking at beautiful weather in the forecast as we work up to spring equinox on Thursday. Here's what we're looking at. Mostly sunny skies for today. Expecting a high of 57, slightly breezy winds out of the east-northeast at about 8 miles an hour. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 30. Tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 58, mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 32. As we make our way to midweek, mostly sunny skies with a high of 57. Then for Thursday and Friday, partly to mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the mid-50s, and as we take a sneak peek at the weekend, slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, about a 30% chance. Mostly cloudy skies. Highs are going to be in the mid-50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you so much. She does a great job with all the compilation of facts and figures for the weather. Appreciate that. Brought to you by K&R Rental. Good morning. And, of course, they're on the Burley-Paul Highway. You know, they've got everything. They've got everything over there, so I urge you to remember to go over. If you're getting ready to clean up for spring, they can help with all the tools and equipment you need at 678-3122. Give them a call. K&R Rental. Good people. Wow. Oh, quick reminder. Absolutely. Lunch Bunch is this week on Thursday. Now, to all the Lunch Bunchers that are listening, call a friend. Call a friend. We've got to get the numbers up to where the room is swelling with people. I like that. Swelling with people. And so be there Thursday, Lunch Bunch. And again, our thanks to all of our sponsors for our gift certificates. Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, along with our friends at Denny's. Come on. See you on Thursday. By the way, too, don't forget our friends at Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Now, simply put, they are the best at what they do. No brag, just fact. And I urge you to stop in, and don't forget, too, if you don't have time to do your own washing, take it down there, it being the clothes. They will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mom used to at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Oh, and a quick reminder that on the air with us for years and years and years, and I love these folks, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and I mean that, plus the people that know and understand how to help you. Please don't forget to give them a call, 678-0459. That number again, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. I hope you had a great weekend. I did. I got a lot of things done outside, a lot of cleanup that needed to be done. I spent a lot of time on my new John Deere tractor moving used alfalfa. Piles and piles of it, and got everything cleaned up outside. I feel really good about that. So again, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We've got a lot of things going on this week, of course, for you basketball nuts like I am. I mean, I absolutely love basketball, always have. College basketball. And March Madness begins this week, and for all you bracketologists, see if you can pick all the winners. Good luck. Looks like Duke is the number one seed going in with, I think, one of the greatest basketball players I have seen in a long time. And I watch him in amazement as to how he can handle the ball, get loose, move, everything. And that's that Zion Williamson. And I can see why they put Duke as the number one seed. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, too, we'll be over at Denny's Restaurant this Thursday for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Yup. And you can stop in anytime, all the time at Denny's, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Boy, you pick up that menu and you go, holy moly, what am I going to choose? All the food is fantastic. You better believe it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You stop in. Nice people, too, at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner, and, of course, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Real quick, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Boy, they put me through the ringer the other day, old Nick. I'll tell you what, Nick Greenwell and all those physical therapists, they know. And they can help you with all the best of exercises. And they've got that hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in this area. And if you've got aches, pains, recovering from surgery or an accident, that's the place to go. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number, 678-1191. Yep, they can help you get back to being you. Really good people. Beto O'Rourke, I'm really interested in what you think of this young, as some of the left and some of the Democrats are calling him, a phenom. Why, he's unbelievable. Oh, the smile. Oh, this personality. Why, he's a composite of John F. Kennedy and Obama. We got to have him as president. They go on and rail about this guy. Well, not me. First of all, He's a foul-mouthed, and he is. I'm not saying that just for, theatrical purposes. He is a very foul-mouthed socialist, food counter prancing, skateboard riding wannabe. Now, let me go through some of the charges that I put on his name. He is foul-mouthed. At 6 locations where he was giving speeches in recent days, dropping the F-bomb frequently during those speeches. I find that classless. And he is a socialist with his left-leaning ways. And the other day, now come on, let's use some common sense here. The other day, he jumps up on a food counter and starts prancing around answering questions. Now, if you or I would go into that respective restaurant and jump up on the food counter, why, there'd be all kinds of heck to pay for the administering of health violation rules. You don't jump up on food counters with your shoes. However, the Democrats and Beto O'Rourke get away with it. And then this skateboard riding. I want a president that's going to act professional. I want a president that's going to do and act in a manner of presidential means and activities. But you get this guy skating across the stage as an introduction on a skateboard going, ha! And then he gets to the other side and he goes back the other way, ha! Give me a break. Beto O'Rourke, I just don't know about this guy, but the one thing he does is raise a lot of money. How he's getting all this money, who is funding him, of course you can have your ideas like I've got mine. Even as much as I dislike him, and that's a lot, and even as much as we downplay him, I'm afraid of him. I'm afraid of his politics. I'm afraid that he is going to be bought into the forefront. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. 1-8. Come on, it's Monday. I need your calls. I feel lonesome over here in the studio. My goodness sakes. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We had this guy on the air the other day, and he did a great job, Jake, over at Rain for Rent. And he was telling us all about their irrigation systems. They are a Reinke Diamond dealer, and they've got the industry's longest warranty and dedicated sales and service staff for you. They're open 8 to 5, and of course those hours during the spring probably going to be extended a bunch. And they've got people that just flat no irrigation. I urge you to give them a call or stop in. The number 438-5065, and they're located at 134 South 600 West of Paul. Yep, Rain for Rent, serving you. It's irrigation time, and they're ready. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear that now certain candy companies, this tells me how low we are going as a company. Hold on, caller, I'll be right there. Certain candy companies are coming out with marijuana, pot jelly beans in assorted flavors. Again, going back to my grandma. Ay, 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 ay. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
So it is true the world's going to pot.
Doug, you're a Christian man, and I am. And honestly, I shake my head in the morning, and I just tell my lovely bride, I don't think it can get much worse, but then it does.
Yes. Yeah, when you think they've reached their new low, they seem to keep digging.
Yeah, they got big shovels.
They do. And this Beto O'Rourke is the same as that AOC or OAC, whatever her name is.
Oh, yeah.
Cortez. She is not smart enough to be where she is. There's someone financed her, pushed her, and is pulling her strings.
Oh, come on, Doug. Now, you're a sharp guy on wheels. We got a little feedback on the call, please. You're a sharp guy. You don't have to intimate what it might be. You know who it is. It's the left and the big rich resources of like the George Soros and MoveOn.org and others.
Exactly. And same thing with O'Rourke.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he raises that much money in one day. I would love to see a list of where that money came from.
You know, let me ask you a question that I don't think you and I have discussed before on the air. Do you know, or have you had any contact or conversation with anyone in this area that is leaning towards voting for the possibility of a Democratic Socialist president?
No, I have yet to meet one.
I have met two, and I just can't understand where their minds are or what the mindset is.
Well, possibly it's the free stuff.
Ah, you're getting warm.
It's possibly you don't need to worry about paying for school or college. You don't need to worry about vacations. You don't need to worry about retirement.
So you're talking about a complete utopia.
Yeah, so why even go to school if you don't have to worry about working or retirement or anything? Why go?
Well, then I would jump in the conversation and I would say to you, dear caller, where does the money come from?
Well, the government gives it to us.
Oh, well then, I think I'll just kind of turn the mic off and go out, and we've got some lazy boy lawn chairs. I'm enjoying, man. I'm not going to work.
Exactly, and that's. I think that's the mindset. They think they do not. They throw all these ideas out there. I'm sorry, my mind's going 100. But they throw all these ideas out there without any discussion on the cost and how you're going to pay for it and who's going to pay.
Okay, so what you're telling me is, and caller number 2, stand by. I'm a coming, stand by. But what you're telling me is, you and I, we get up in the morning and we go to work. Okay, I get up at 4 a.m. I don't know what time you get up. You go to work. Okay, and you work 8-9 hours a day. All right, so do I. And you're telling me that there are those that don't want to work or can't work or think work is evil, and yet they want freebies like, free meals, and they want free this, they want free that, they want to go to school free, and you and I are going to pay for it, and everybody's happy.
Well, that's what they think, but when we quit paying for it, then what are they going to do?
So I am suggesting that when it comes time for April 15th, and my tax man is going to cringe when he hears this, I am suggesting that we start looking at our whole card, and that whole card says, you're an idiot for paying taxes until they start respecting you.
Exactly. They need to treat our money like we treat our money.
Uh-huh.
But that's what you get when you got a third party paying for something. They don't care the cost or the quality.
I am looking at, so I'm going to have some of the steps to socialism that I heard early this morning at 425. And it's scary as to where we are in the acceptance of socialism in this country. Doug, give us your senior center spiel. I got to run. I got another call waiting.
Okay, but I do have one more comment I would like to make real quick. These colleges, how can a dean of a college afford $100 million yacht?
I think you can answer that question.
Exactly. So,
there may be a little graft and corruption and under the table or at the golf course on the number 17 hole. Here, take this, and my child will be treated fairly, I'm sure.
That's what you call getting paid from behind. You just put your hand out backwards and I put the money in it and you put it in your pocket.
Lots of it, and you better have a big pocket.
Yep. Anyway, let's do what we can for seniors, everybody. Let's donate. Let's help them get through this tough time of feeding the seniors and the Meals on Wheels.
Amen.
Struggling. So God bless.
Amen. Thank you. Caller number 2, go ahead quickly, and then I've got to do a commercial break. Thank you.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
It's the Yummy Man with the menu for the Burley Senior Center on South Overland Avenue. And Today we're having spaghetti with meat sauce, green vegetables, and some fruit, and we're going to have some yummy chocolate cake.
Joe, I got to ask you, this is really an important question, so I want an honest, straight answer. Do you eat your spaghetti by cutting it up, or do you twirl it on your fork?
I cut it up.
I don't blame you, because I end up looking like I'm an Appaloosa by the time I'm done eating it.
Well, they give me a bib.
Joe, we'll send everybody over to the senior center. Thank you.
All right, have a good one. Appreciate you. Bye.
Senior Center on Overland and Burley. Joe Taylor, thank you so much. I cannot eat spaghetti in public. I won't even try to eat spaghetti in public. If it's served to me, I'm going to sit there and dice it up into real small pieces. And you're going to laugh at this. I'm not going to eat it with a fork. No, because when I chop it up, I'm going to scoop it with a spoon. I can't twirl it on a fork. I hate to get it halfway to my mouth and have about 3 or 4 of those strands go and drop down through the bottom and go on my shirt, on my Wranglers, whatever. I can't eat spaghetti. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-86. And my Deanne doesn't want me to eat spaghetti in public either. Oh, Arc Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. And boy, they're a mixed animal practice that serves you to keep your pets and livestock healthy. Absolutely. We really appreciate Dr. Bill and his staff and everything they tell us and everything they do to help you, the pet and animal owners, about various things that might be exposing your pets and animals to diseases, etc. So please, for any questions going into spring, get a hold of them today. Arc Animal Hospital, and the number 678-1177, 678-1177, Arc Animal Hospital in Heyburn, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. I'm going to give away some cookies quickly, real quick. And Sophie's Chatterbox, of course, gives the 12 cookies, a dozen cookies away. And, of course, Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. Oh, phenomenal restaurant and a super, super delicious bakery with all the different items. You be sure and get a hold of them today. Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. And here's the question. It's an easy one. Easy one this morning. We're just weeks away, actually days away, from the opening of baseball season. And I thought I'd ask a preseason baseball question. First person that comes up with the right answer will get a dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. And if you win, call them and let them know when you'll be in for the cookies, okay? Here's the question. Call me. The real name, full name of Babe Ruth. Oh, that's easy. The real name of Babe Ruth. The full name. Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, the real name of Babe Ruth. Give me a call real quick, and you'll be the cookie winner at Sophie's Chatterbox. While I'm waiting for your call that I'm sure is coming in, I want to remind you, too, about Barry Equipment and Rental. You know, they need some additional people at the Burley location, like new technician, and they've got other great employment opportunities at Barry Equipment and Rental. So I urge you to call Juan over at the Burley office at 678-7368, or Eli at the Twin Falls office location at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, 734-4186. 3 locations serving you in the state of Idaho: Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, and they really care. And they've got the best of retail equipment sales and equipment rentals at Barry Equipment and Rental. You get a hold of them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. George Herman Ruth.
Who is this?
Kevin Vogt.
Kevin, what's your favorite cookie?
Chocolate chip.
Well, you got them, a dozen of them, and you can scurry off into the corner and eat all dozen by yourself. Call that Sophie's Chatterbox. Let them know when you're coming, Kevin, because you're the winner.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
George Herman Ruth. And he had, to say the least, a very interesting and not so good upbringing as a child, and went through a lot of adversity to become, quite frankly, Mr. Baseball. Babe Ruth. George Herman Ruth. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you know, and I'm going to give you these, I'm not going to give you all the points of what's happening in this country with socialism and things to be afraid of, I mean really afraid of, but here are some of the points of socialism that we in this country, the United States, are already involved in, and it's enveloping us and growing like a cancer. Here are some of the key points. I'll start with this. Government spending going higher and higher and higher with no concern about the deficit. Think about it. That's where we are. Also, taxes that kill incentives for businesses to grow and prosper and perhaps start other business location or other businesses. We have that. Government printing more and more money. Aha! That's happening because of huge increasing deficits. And then this one really stands out, class warfare. That's where we're at because of the Democrats, I think, just setting matches and trying to start new fires. Class warfare. Well, you've got this, but this group over here doesn't have that. That's not fair. So we want you not to have what you've worked hard for, what you've gone to school for, what you studied for, what you have slaved for and earned, because we want to make sure everybody gets it for free. But in order to be free, we've got to take it out of your pocket. It's existing and getting worse. And then societal discord. We have people that are absolutely bent. Al Sharpton. That name comes to mind the minute you think of societal discord. In there, that's what he gets paid for. He's in there just absolutely starting trouble. Oh, well, that's not fair. I'll start a little fire here and we'll see what we can do to create more of a problem there. That's what is happening in this country. It's got to stop. We have got to stop. All of these keys of what are happening here and expanding happened recently in Venezuela. There is the encyclopedia of socialism and how devastating, how demoralizing, how absolutely problematic it can become if we just look at Venezuela. And that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Got a question for you. And I really want you to heat up the phone lines and tell me. Muslim Congresswoman Tlaib came out this last weekend and she called the border wall racist. Racist. Okay. My question is, how and when did these leftists come up with these ideas and charges that the border wall is racist? Then another socialist on the left, we talked about him earlier, Beto O'Rourke, comes out and says in a speech that capitalism in America is racist. Have you noticed that the left absolutely is, they're just hell-bent on using that terminology all the time about you're a racist or that's racist. The Pledge of Allegiance is racist. Our national anthem is racist. The border wall is racist. How? This is my question. Why aren't members of the media if they're so-called journalists, and I think they're terrible today as compared to 20 or 25 years ago, how come the media isn't looking at these people like Tlaib and O'Rourke and raising their hand and say, excuse me, I have a question. How? How is the border wall racist, or how is the Pledge of Allegiance racist, or how is capitalism racist? And pin these people down. Pin these people down and make them really squirm to come up with an answer. You can't make a charge like that and not have the basis of an answer that's going to be intelligent. They don't and they can't. But it's easy to point their finger and make charges like, well, that's racism. Yep, that's racism. Well, excuse me, sir or madam. How? Simple question. How? They can't come up with an answer. You give me a call, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the by, I want to talk to you about the cost of the border wall right after this, and I think it will open your eyes as to money that they say it's going to cost too much, but actually it will save us money. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for more than that, too. They're looking for mechanics and dispatchers. Ag Express may be looking for you. Full and part-time positions are available, and they welcome retired folks to come on down with your vast knowledge, and you want to pick up a few extra bucks? Well, they welcome you to apply. Absolutely. You're home every night, and new and maintained equipment, great vacation plans and benefits, and all of this and more at Ag Express. I urge you to give them a call. Call 438-5025 or 438-8886 or 670-7219. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. Give them a call. All right, give me a call. Monday, kind of a slow day. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, it seems as though people are going out of control with no logic in our country on so many things like this racist issue.
Yeah.
And nobody stops them. They just accept it.
Linda, do you remember back in 2007, and I know you do because you've been such a faithful listener, do you remember when the State Democratic Party, they came after me with some of their little puppets and some of their little under-the-table people and started calling me racist, and it blew up, and the newspapers and all the television stations in the state and everybody was trying to get me for a comment. Oh, you're racist because you don't like Barack Obama. Well, and then at the same time, Linda, to show how stupid these people were, I was supporting, if you'll remember, Condoleezza Rice for president, and she's also black like Barack Obama.
Yes, I do. Yeah, it's just ridiculous, and nobody asks them, as you said, to tell you why.
Well, okay, now let me ask you this. We live in a capitalistic society where there's opportunity out there for anybody in any job or any endeavor in life to put forth the effort, put their shoulder to the wheel, and go hard, push hard, and you can be successful. I love a capitalistic society. But when they say it's racist, Linda, please help me. I don't understand.
Because people don't want to have to work hard. But the other thing is that, I don't know what the deal is. They just want it given to them, and that's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, but isn't it...
Members on the other countries of Europe were yelling, don't give up capitalism.
Yeah. Isn't it reverse racism, Linda? Linda, isn't it reverse racism when you sit there and say that capitalism is racist? Because what you're implying, I think, is that blacks and minorities don't want to work, can't work, etc., so we got to give it to them.
Yeah, It is reverse racism. I have got one more quick thing for you. Spaghetti that you were talking about originally. My cousin married an Italian, and this is what he told her. You scoop a little bit of spaghetti. You can't take too much onto the tines of the fork because it does multiply being in those long strands. Take a spoon in your left hand and take the fork that's in your right hand with a little bit of spaghetti on it and put the ends of the tines of the fork in the bowl of the spoon and twirl the spaghetti, and it makes it much easier.
Linda,
who would have known?
Linda, I'm going to tell you this just one time, my dear lady. You're involving too much coordination in trying to eat my food, and I can't handle it.
Yeah, you still get some spaghetti worms dribbling.
Wouldn't it be a lot easier to just chop those puppies up and scoop a big tablespoon in there and go away happy?
Probably a lot faster.
Okay, thanks, Linda. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
We'll see you Thursday.
All right, thank you. Lunch Bunch Thursday this week. Don't miss it. Thank you very much. I absolutely cannot eat spaghetti. I can't do it. I can't do it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a comprehensive study done. And I listened to this lady this morning, and man, does she make a lot of sense. Think about the numbers I'm going to throw at you right now. She said that the border wall is not going to cost us one doggone dime. Nada. She said the border wall can be paying for itself or pay for itself in 2 or 2.5 years. And you're going to go, what? $8.6 billion. How is that going to happen? It figures out the cost for sheltering and caring for illegals is right at $5 billion with a B, $5 billion a year. $5 billion a year. And millions more on the way. Our costs are absolutely going to be up there, reaching close to $8, $9, $10 billion a year on the border to take care of these people. All right, now let's go a step further. The single teenagers that are trying to come up here and jump across the border, when they are abducted and held, this just blows me away. It costs $775 per day to shelter those single teenagers and hold them. Now, that is $23,250 per month. And we have thousands upon thousands of them. Let's just take a simple round number of 1,000 per month. That comes out to $23 million a month just for housing, sheltering, and taking care of single teenagers. Not counting the families, not counting all the others. And then you wonder why we're in trouble financially. But do the math. Do the figures. Do the multiplication. And yes, that $8.6 billion wall is looking really pretty doggone good right now. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We got to get a weather forecast on. And the weather brought to you this hour by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are located right behind the Minidoka Hospital. I mean, just steps out the back door, right behind the Minidoka Hospital and across from the emergency room, and the number to call, 312-0957. You know, I urge you, if you're having any hearing health problems and you're going, what? What did he say? What? What? And it might be related to your heart. It could be related to your blood pressure. It could be related to diabetes. It could be related to many, many things that you should know about and take care of. So I urge you to give them a call. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And the number to call to make an appointment, 312-0957. We'll have more right after Gina's weather.
We're looking at beautiful weather in the forecast as we work up to spring equinox on Thursday. Here's what we're looking at. Mostly sunny skies for today. Expecting a high of 57, slightly breezy winds out of the east-northeast at about 8 miles an hour. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 30. Tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 58, mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 32. As we make our way to midweek, mostly sunny skies with a high of 57. Then for Thursday and Friday, partly to mostly sunny skies, highs are going to be in the mid-50s. And as we take a sneak peek at the weekend, slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, about a 30% chance. Mostly cloudy skies, highs are going to be in the mid-50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Hey, Wheels, turn on your microphone really quick. Are you there?
Sir. Yes, sir.
I need you to grab Gina really fast and get her on the microphone. I've got a very, very serious question that people with inquiring minds want to know. Would you go get her quick?
All right, yeah, just give me a little bit, and I can go get her for you.
All right, I'll wrap this up. Our weather brought to you by our dear friends, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And the number to call for a hearing screening, and I urge you to do so, is 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957, bringing you and I the weather this hour. Thank you very much. I have a question because now I'm confused. Gina, are you there? We'll see. Wheels is scooting around the corner and trying to get Gina. She's probably over at our sister station right now, giving out all kinds of great information about country music and everything. We'll see if she's there. Wheels, is she back yet?
Yep, give me one moment. I'm going to plug her in, and then she'll talk to you.
All right, I can't wait. The lovely Gina Jameson will be on our program, and she is, of course, the world's greatest weather person. Gina, are you there? Not plugged in yet.
There we go.
There she is. I have a question because now I'm confused.
Okay.
I thought spring was Wednesday.
No, spring, this equinox is technically on the 21st, which is Thursday.
Well, my calendars, I looked at 6 of them since I thought about this, and all of them say spring begins on Wednesday.
You know, I'm looking at the calendar here, and it does say Wednesday. For me, it's always on the 21st, because the 21st and the 22nd, that's usually when... But, you know, I've been known to be wrong.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong, because inquiring minds want to know, but I didn't want to sit there with egg on my face Wednesday and saying, well, welcome to spring, when it's not.
Honestly, let me do a little bit of research, but on our calendar, it does say Wednesday, but traditionally, it's always been on the 21st, and this year it happens to be on a Thursday. So let me do some research, and I'll make sure that I don't have egg on my face.
Bless you, my child. I'll pass the apron or the napkin if necessary.
Please do.
God bless you. Thank you. All right. I didn't know, but I looked at my calendar, and I got one in my pocket, and I got one up hanging on the studio wall and everything. We better check this out because, boy, we're going to celebrate whatever day it is. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I had that same question the other day, and we looked it up, and it can vary. It can come as early as the 19th.
Oh.
And it will.
Why don't they leave things alone for us people that are all discombobulated?
Yeah, I know. We were having that same thought. You know, doesn't it come on the 21st?
Well, see, that's what I thought. There you go, because I agreed with Gina. And I was all set this week to say, honestly, and this is where I'm at, we're having lunch bunch on Thursday, right?
Right.
And I was going to say earlier this morning, and we're going to celebrate at lunch bunch the first day of spring. And I looked at my calendar, and it says, no, it's the day before.
Darn. Well, can we celebrate the second day of spring?
We're going to have a 48-hour party, lady.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Why not?
Thanks, Linda.
You're welcome.
All right. See you later. Thank you. Bye-bye. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to take Gina's side on this morning because I've always thought of the first day of spring being March 21st. Well, then they go and they change it, and I'm looking in great big green letters here. It says on my desk calendar, first day of spring on the 20th. I don't like that when they move things around. Christmas is on the 25th. New Year's is on the 1st. Let's leave spring the 21st. What do you say? All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's see what else is on our calendar of events to talk about this morning. And this really, it bugs me, and that's why I'm going to call them the Bugs Bunny left. You know, this situation over in New Zealand, horrendous shootings of innocent people. And yet, our president, and this is a situation where you want to use very cautious language, our President Trump is blamed as being a part and or a blameful part of those shootings. And I just scratch my head. And I say to myself, how? How can the left vilify this man over every single story that's in the news every single day? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, I can tell you why they vilify him every day of the news cycle, because they've got to keep themselves out there. And the more they pick on Trump, they don't have to show up for all of the photos that they make. And that's just that.
You know, it is a fact, but honestly, I'm really hoping the American public has not reached that point of gullibility to where they're going to sit down and buy into these left loons and some of their comments.
Well, if American people are that gullible, then they deserve what they're getting. So let's hope that most Americans are not that gullible.
Well, we can only hope and pray. I got to ask you this question, though, Chris. You've been a farm person almost all your life and have lived agriculture, and you know spring, and you know fall, and you know winter. Honestly, I thought, too, that the first day of spring was always on the 21st, but now my calendars are saying Wednesday the 20th. What is your professional opinion?
Well, I think that, from what I remember, the first day of spring can be in that part of the calendar. It's determined by where the moon is and stuff like that, and it's around the 20th, 21st, right around there every year. But it depends upon, I think, a lot where the moon is. You know, how the Earth and the moon.
Well, okay, you've got way too high-tech science for me. But we're going to celebrate on Wednesday and Thursday. We're going to have a big spring party, so you bring the chips.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think I'm celebrating spring already. My husband's out working in the field.
Amen, amen. Chris, good to hear from you. God bless you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Nice lady right there. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I know that I'm ready for spring, and I know somebody else is ready for spring. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, is that a segue or what? Big spring tire sale going on right now at all 7 locations. I mean, the best of their tires, like the Ultra Z900, the Open Country HT, the Open Country AT2. Oh, all the different tread designs, all the different sizes for your cars, pickups, SUVs. Spring tire sale. Save money. Drive safely. You bet. Stop in. The best of brake service and front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. But above all, service. They really take care of you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, great folks. Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They're the best. Holy cow, let's see what's coming up the rest of the morning. We've got next, one of my favorite people next hour, Richard Manning. And then Common Sense. Common Sense on the idiocy and uneducated with global warming or climate change. We're going to talk to E. Calvin Beisner at 9:30. And then we've got John Milkovic coming on at 10:06, and the Idaho Legislative Update this morning at 10:30, brought to you by our dear friends, and we really appreciate them at Handy Truck Line, 400 West, 100 South of Paul. And I believe it's going to be Speaker of the House Scott Bedke on the program with us this morning as we talk to him up at the Legislative Update. Lunch Bunch is going to be this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley. We urge you to be there. Call your friends, call your neighbors, call people you don't know, pick somebody up on the street, bring them down to Denny's. We're going to have a good time. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels. We'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh my, on a beautiful morning outside. I really thought about moving all the equipment out on the sun deck and having the program outside. It's beautiful outside. Morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they're celebrating a great big spring tire sale right now at all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have much more right after this word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
They really are always at your disposal, and I urge you to give them a call. If you're not on the route service, call and say, help, I've got garbage over here, and they'll put you on the route service, and once a week, it's gone. It's out of there. The very best. Western Waste Services. Call them today, 734-6969. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. Want to remind you, too, about some really, really good friends of ours at Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. Curtis, Lorena, the entire staff, they've got all your electronics needs. And I mean all your electronic needs. Home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, very, very important nowadays. They've got the best of televisions with Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, and complete sound systems. Oh my goodness, car stereos and speakers. It's all there with people that really know and understand how to serve you. Patterson's open at 421 East Main in Burley. The hours, Monday 9 to 6. You stop in today and see our friends at Patterson's. And real quick, talking about friends, in a time of need, I urge you to write this number down and remember, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number, 436-5636. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, always there for you. When there's the passing of a loved one, I urge you to give them a call. Or even prior, we all need to get the pre-funeral arrangements made to take the stress and the worry off our family. They can help. They will. Always with the highest ethical standards, I bit my tongue, with unquestioned integrity. Please remember Hanson Mortuary in Rupert and Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Ouch. Okay, I'm better now. Let's go to the phone line. And my favorite part of Monday, President of Americans for Limited Government, Richard Manning. Good morning.
Hey, Zeb, how are you doing?
Not bad. Now, you're back in what, D.C., or what area are you calling in from?
Yeah, I'm in the suburbs of D.C. I am outside of the Beltway, but I'm driving distance into the capital.
All right, well, your weather is a little chilly this morning, is it not?
It's not that cold, but it was pretty shocking. It was 70 degrees yesterday, and I was driving in here, and I was getting hit with snowflakes. It was very bizarre, but Yeah, it's we're in the 40s.
Okay. Richard, I got to ask you this. First of all, let me make a statement. Back in 2007, prior to the election for Barack Obama, the Democrats here in the state of Idaho, and it picked up steam, and they tried to make me a figurehead for racism, and they had all the network TVs, the local TV stations, the newspapers, and everything after me as a talk show host that they called a racist because I was against Barack Obama. While at the same time, to show how not very bright they were, I was advocating Condoleezza Rice run for the presidency. But all that being said, today, everything the Democrats lay out is racist. The Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem, our capitalist system, everything is racist. Where in the world did they get the right to hang that moniker of racism on everything?
You know, they grabbed it themselves, and because we've allowed them to control the language, they are the ones who define what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. Apparently, if you look at you just take what happened this weekend. Chelsea Clinton, I'm not a fan of the Clintons, okay? Chelsea Clinton went off and had the audacity of saying that anti-Semitism is wrong and that it should not be tolerated. And because of that, they said, you, Chelsea Clinton, are guilty of the Christchurch shooting in New Zealand.
Oh, my gosh.
And attacked her for that. The bottom line is what they're trying to do with that, and it's not a conscious effort. There's like a Borg here. It isn't like there's a mastermind. The result of those attacks on Chelsea Clinton are that every single person on the left now knows that they're not allowed to attack an anti-Semite who's a Muslim. It is even though you look at Sharia, and it is in fact, by definition, the Quran calls for killing Jews. It is a very, very clear doctrine. But you're not allowed to call a Muslim an anti-Semite in democratic circles, otherwise you will be attacked by the mob. So they define the terms, and then we weakly accept those terms. And it's actually having the exact opposite effect on me. I look at it and I say, you know what? If calling somebody an anti-Semite because they are is wrong, then to use a phrase from an old 70s song, then I don't want to be right.
That's right.
It's this is a time to step up and say, you don't get to define the terms of this debate. You don't get to define whether there's special classes of people who can say, espouse language, hate language that is very similar to what happened in the 1930s in Germany. We're not going to allow that to occur. We're going to stand up and say never again means never again, and we're going to fight that. And if they don't like the terms of debate, if they want to call names, so be it. We're not going to play by their rules anymore. Unfortunately, people like Fox News, I'm getting kind of far on this, but people like Fox News have suspended Jeanine Pirro for making a simple statement, a question actually, of whether Ilhan Omar's decision to wear the hijab, or whatever it's called, hijab, the headdress, is in fact out of deference for Islam, is in fact raises a question as to whether or not she is a follower of Sharia, which is incompatible with the Constitution. And because Pirro had the audacity to ask the question, she didn't assert it, she asked the question, she's been suspended from Fox News. So
I guess my question to you at that juncture would be, Richard, have we reached the point which they said would come in this country? It's not a shock to me that we are so afraid of Islam, so afraid of Muslims in control of various positions in politics, that they are winning day by day because of a fear factor where they cannot be criticized, they cannot be even questioned, and their motives are to be held sacred, and we sit back and just let them go.
It's a good question. I think some are. I don't think America as a whole is, but I think some are. I think that the Fox News thing out of everything is the most dangerous part of it, because they had the distinction of being one of the few honest brokers in this game, and it's no secret that the Murdoch sons are much more liberal than their father, and they've taken more hands-on control. And if they seek to appease the radical left on language, and at that point, Fox will become no more.
Mm-hmm.
And this gets in the weeds of some stupid Washington D.C. stuff, but there was the Trump administration put a guy into the head of the FCC named Ajit Pai, who's done a great job on some things, but he made a huge mistake. He didn't allow Sinclair Broadcasting to become a nationwide cable network, which Sinclair attempted to do. He single-handedly stopped it at the FCC, and in doing so, he basically made Fox a target, because Fox is now the only truly national network that has an every household presence, and that creates puts a target on their back, and as a result, they're feeling a lot more heat than they did before. Not to mention some of their top investors are people from Saudi Arabia.
So, in your estimation, Richard, and I'm hearing what you're saying, and I think you and I are on the same side of the fence, clean, honest, outright reporting of journalistic facts and asking questions the same as that clean, outright reporting is a thing of the past. We have to leave certain areas untouched, and we have to leave certain topics unmentioned.
We cannot allow for there to be, that is certainly what's trying to be imposed, and we cannot allow for there to be journalistic no-go zones. Once you have journalistic no-go zones, you effectively allow legal no-go zones, and Sharia has taken hold throughout Europe. We don't have to be very smart. All we have to do is look at what's happening in Europe. And we know that in the 2016 election, Governor Bobby Jindal from Louisiana pointed out that there were no-go zones in Great Britain. And the left went crazy saying, "Oh, that's not true, that's not true." But unfortunately, it was true. They just said it was. They just claimed it wasn't true because they don't want people in America to know what the future is in this movement. The fact is, in New York City right now, there are Muslim-based patrols who are patrolling, looking for ostensibly for hate crimes against Muslims. There were a total of 16 reported, not found guilty, reported hate crimes against Muslims in the entire city of New York last year, and that yet the people with money who are pushing Islam have now established a pretty vast network of vehicles that patrol around, making sure there's no Muslim hate crimes. Well, what they actually do in places where this exists, like in Paris, France, and London, England, what they actually do is they look for people who are violating Sharia law. And so if you're walking along and you don't wear the proper headdress or the proper apparel, and you're a woman, they will pull you, they will harass you on the street and say you don't belong here. And that's how they create no-go zones. This is the first step of that. They're doing it in New York City. And, with Bill de Blasio, who embraces everything that's wrong, as the head of New York City, I'm sure he will do nothing about it. But it is somewhat ironic that New York City, the home of the most egregious attack on the continental United States, perhaps in history, by a foreign power in history, at least since 1812, that just a few short years later, we have Muslim no-go zone enforcers patrolling the streets of New York City.
Why, in your opinion, and I'd love to sit and talk to you for hours on end because I think we share the same viewpoints, but why, in your opinion, has there been this acceptance and or capitulation to Muslims and their philosophy? In other words, I want to go back to when Ms. Tlaib and her counterpart back in the Congress were sworn in wearing a Palestinian flag and or using the Quran. Why is there this capitulation and acceptance in this country, and why are we so afraid to speak out?
Tolerance is the number one religion. It's the only thing that many Americans will stand for. It is and so as a result, and plus people get told the news. There's in the news broadcast, there's 22 minutes, right, out of 30, and so if you're using the standard evening news model, there's only 22 minutes, and nobody's going to stick their neck out and get themselves fired over talking about these kind of issues. And the fact that Jeanine Pirro may be losing her show because she asked a simple question is indicative of the top-down control that exists, both financial and from a pressure standpoint. I can't overestimate or overstate the impact that the left has had in terms of creating social justice warrior outrage campaigns against corporations, and in doing so, those corporations are simply trying to avoid a controversy, and they're asked do you support people who hate Muslims? And they say no, and so they say, okay, well then you can't advertise over here, and because those businesses are just they don't want to get involved in issues like we talk about. They just want to sell stuff. So they don't want to be in a controversy, so they allow for their advertisers, well, we don't want to be there. So the buyers don't buy Jeanine Pirro, and suddenly there's no they lose their advertising base, and Fox News says we don't want to risk that. And that's how you flip a communications network, is you make it so they say we're not willing to risk the ad dollars. And then a national level where national and international businesses are advertising in national networks, that's your lifeblood. So it's they're attacking ads. They've had a wholesale campaign for quite a while on a number of fronts. They're just now really gearing up, and we're seeing the full force of it. And quite honestly, it's if they succeed, it's the end of the First Amendment.
Well, I was going to say, I think I'll go to Office Max the minute this program's over and go in and buy every eraser they have in the store, because I think we've got a lot of work to do to get a hold of every copy of the Constitution and erase that First Amendment, because that's where we're headed.
Well, remember, the Democrats in the Senate unanimously voted to amend the First Amendment to make it so you didn't have freedom of assembly. So they in fact voted unanimously in the Senate 3 years ago against the exact language of the First Amendment that Ted Cruz put up and forced them to vote on. So the Democrats, in response to the Supreme Court decision that overturned parts of the McCain-Feingold bill, campaign finance bill, actually introduced legislation and had a majority. They were in the majority then. Harry Reid was the Senate Majority Leader. Had a majority that voted to end the First Amendment and to make change and to pass a First Amendment that was much longer and more complicated than the existing one. So it was no, the Democrats don't support the First Amendment. Let's make no bones about it. They voted against it in the Senate overwhelmingly, and so it's not a surprise. The fact is, it's harder to get rid of the First Amendment than they think. So instead, that's why we have big fights over Kavanaugh and things like that. They desperately want to have people on the courts who will erase the First Amendment for them, and then they can pretend that they're following the law. And they're following the Constitution, which they suddenly have grown interested in the past couple of years.
I am remembering, of course, and I have it in my file. I keep files on various subjects on this program, that it wasn't that long ago on ABC television that a Islamic imam stood up and said that he foresees the day within his lifetime that an Islamic flag will fly over the White House of the United States. Does America not remember these statements and not kind of chronologically follow what's happening in the news every day, whether it's with Congresswoman Tlaib saying this past weekend that the border wall was racist, and they keep going on? We don't remember the negatives that are being cast upon us, and we always think everything's going to be on the yellow brick road to Oz. It's not that way anymore.
Well, once again, it comes down to demographics. People who remember things that were said 10 years ago are now 10 years older. And the people who came of age in that 10 years never heard it. So, and, you know, one thing we know, and this is true, this is not a knock on millennials, okay? This is a basic human fact. If it didn't happen in your life, or at least in your consciousness during your life, it didn't happen. It's ancient history. And because these kind of things have not, you know, young people don't know about them, and as a result, they didn't happen, and so they don't see the threat. All they see is, oh, there were you can't talk about Islam, because when you say anything negative about Islam, you end up with 49 people killed in Christchurch, New Zealand. Nothing. Let me be clear. There is no justification for going into a mosque and doing that and killing a bunch of people. No justification whatsoever. People have a right to worship. If they want to worship Allah, you know, go to it. The outcome for them is going to be very bad in the end, but that's their decision. They've got every right to do that. In this country anyway. So we don't engage in violence, but we darn well better have a conversation about what that means. We darn well better be able to have a conversation about the differences. We darn well better be able to say, you know, when here in America, we keep getting told that Allah and God are the same thing, but in Malaysia, where it's a majority Muslim nation, significant majority Muslim nation, Christian missionaries are not allowed to use Bibles that substitute the word God for Allah or Allah for God, because in Muslim-dominated countries, they know that Allah, the Allah of Muhammad, is not the same entity as the God of Israel.
That's right.
They know that, and they deny the capacity to even substitute the language, because no one in Malaysia actually knows any word for God other than Allah. And so they banned Bibles. They said you have a Bible that uses the word Allah and substitute for the word God. And telling us very clearly that to practicing Muslims, Allah and God, the God of Israel, are two separate entities.
You know, we could go on, and this is why, give me a short answer, I only got a minute left, but Richard, this is why I have been absolutely adamant that ministers, preachers, church leaders have got to start informing their congregation as to what's going on, because they're so naive about some of their sermons in the pulpit.
If people don't find out the truth in church, then where are they going to find it?
Amen.
You know, and the fact is that it's most pastors are not well versed in this. You know, they're well versed in the Bible. They're not well versed in alternative religions. But the truth is, people have to know what they're talking about to be equipped to spread the gospel, because they have to know what other people believe. And we cannot be ashamed of that. Paul makes it very clear in Romans that you should not be ashamed to spread the gospel and speak the truth. And
amen.
So that's what we have to do. And quite honestly, use resources now while they're available to find out the distinctions, because they may not be available on Google for long.
Amen. Amen. My friend, Richard Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government, you have a wonderful week, and I'll look forward to next Monday. Thank you so much.
Next week, Happy Talk. Happy Talk next week.
There you go. I'll research that. Thank you. Thank you, Richard Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. Thank you very much. And he's right. Hey, don't forget our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And, oh, my goodness, they had a great big anniversary sale last week. Oh, man, they had a lot of happy people down there. Why, they had mattresses, and they've got recliners, and they've got all the luxury vinyl plank, and they've got all the carpeting, and they've got all the love seats and the sofas. Woo! I'm telling you, great deals at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And it continues. I mean, you save money and enjoy the beautification and the comfortization. I wonder if those are words. At Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today. They really serve you at 459 Overland and Burley. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Also urge you to remember our good friends over to Let's Ride. Yeah, I just had my four-wheeler serviced, as a matter of fact. Went over and got them on Saturday morning. You better believe it, Tyson and the crew out there in the service department. Great, great service department to keep you running. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. I urge you to stop in and see them. It is spring. I'm going to call it spring right now. I love this weather, and ready to hit the trails and hit the hills and enjoy the great Idaho outdoors. If you don't have a four-wheeler, they've got all kinds of them for your perusal in the showroom at Let's Ride. Stop over and see them today. Again, located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And yes, this is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. You know, I had this next gentleman on my program, I think a couple of times in the past, and I absolutely appreciate all of his remarks. And he is founder and national spokesman of the Cornwall Alliance for the Stewardship of Creation, and got a lot of respect for his comments. And I say good morning to E. Calvin Beisner. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, good morning to you, Zeb. Great to be back with you. I've always enjoyed our shows together.
You know, I got to be... May I call you Calvin, or is that not appropriate? Okay, Calvin, I got to be honest with you. I am really concerned, and I'll underline that word, and then in parentheses also put the word scared, that we are losing any and all common sense when it comes to the movement that was started, first of all, as global warming, now has transitioned itself to climate change, and the indoctrination of our kids and younger people. Am I wrong in thinking that we're at the brink right now?
Oh, no, I really don't. You know, there are always crazy people in the world around us. There have been many, many false scares in the past. There are false scares now, and there'll be false scares in the future as well. But this one, I think, has been one of the more alarming ones, and it certainly does have the potential to do a great deal of harm. In fact, it's already done a good bit of harm. You know, the fear of dangerous man-made global warming facing the world with a catastrophe, and we have to stop using fossil fuels in order to fight it. What that's doing is it's causing harm to both humanity and the natural environment. For humanity, as we are forced to switch rapidly from fossil fuels to wind and solar and other so-called renewables, we're pushing the cost of energy up, and since energy goes into everything that we do, that means we push the cost of everything else up as well. Everybody hurts from that, but of course the poor hurt the most. And then we're hurting the environment too, because it takes a whole lot more land, like 50 times as much land, thereabouts, to generate the same amount of electricity from wind or solar as it does to generate it from coal, oil, or natural gas. And so what we're doing is we're turning backwards something that we achieved over a century ago. We used to burn vast amounts of forest in order to create energy, and we switched from doing that to digging coal or pumping oil or natural gas up out from deep down in the ground. So we're going from devastating vast tracts of land to preserving vast tracts of land, and now we're being told to go back to devastating vast tracts of land, and that hurts the animals, it hurts the forests and everything. So it's just not a good thing for either humanity or the environment to be forced to fight global warming.
There's an issue, Calvin, and it's a big issue with me, and it's overlooked. It's absolutely overlooked by your left-wingers that are out to condemn fossil fuels and say, oh, we've got to switch over to nothing more than solar and wind. We're overlooking one aspect of our lives that would absolutely stop cold in its tracks, and that's the production of food and agriculture. You're not going to push a John Deere tractor down the field with a propeller. You're not going to have food production meet the needs of the masses of mankind. You're going to have absolute devastating starvation. You're going to be having a hard-pressed issue of trying to get food to various ports to where people could go to grocery stores and get their food. People overlook agriculture as a number one problem that they have forgotten when they're preaching only solar and wind power.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, agriculture is a very energy-intensive occupation. And coal, oil, and natural gas can provide the high-intensity, the high-density energy that agricultural machinery needs. Wind and solar can't do it except at much, much higher costs. And so that means food gets more expensive for everybody. And that's not the only way that it does either, Zeb. Frankly, when we add CO2 to the atmosphere, which some people are blaming for dangerous global warming, and that's not true, but when we add that CO2, we're actually doing another thing. We are fertilizing all the plants in the world.
Yes.
Pretty much all plants grow better with more CO2 in the atmosphere. And you can summarize it this way. For every doubling of CO2 content in the atmosphere, you get an average 35% increase in plant growth efficiency. They grow better in wetter and drier soils, in colder and warmer temperatures. They make better use of soil nutrients and more efficient use of water. They resist diseases and pests better, and they expand their range. They go into areas where previously it was too cool for them to grow, and areas where previously it was too warm for them to grow. The result is you get more food for everything that eats plants, and for everything that eats anything that eats plants. And that's a win-win for everybody. It's greening the planet. We can actually see that by satellite photography, showing the edges of deserts moving in, as in they're greening there. The density of vegetation is increasing pretty much all over the world. This is a really good thing. And so when we're told that we have to stop using fossil fuels to fight global warming, we're being told we have to stop fertilizing the plants around the world, and that means we're getting less green, not more. It's pretty ironic that the green movement is really pressuring an anti-green message.
Calvin, let me ask you this. In very simplistic terms, I would say that they know not of what they speak. They absolutely come out with these statements, these brash statements against fossil fuels, against any use on the planet, and they, the left, want to control the temperature. They want to have their hand on the thermostat. And when you ask these people and press these people, okay, what is the norm that you're trying to attain? What is the average that you'd like to see worldwide? They have no answers. All they want to do is just use, I think, climate change / global warming as a means to control people, their movements, their food, everything.
Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of people toward the top of all this movement. And the people in the large governing structures like the United Nations, high up in the U.S. government, despite the fact that we elected a president who thinks that all of this is a hoax, and actually I think he overstates the case. I think it's wrong, but there are an awful lot of people who are honest about it and just honestly mistaken. But despite the fact that we elected him as president, the deep state bureaucrats who hang on in the various different federal agencies continue to press this. And I think many of them, at that level as well as the international level, really do see this as an opportunity to increase their control over people's lives. And then, of course, there are all of the sort of the rank and file, the grassroots folks who have no idea that that's the political agenda that's in mind. They have just been, I think, misled into believing that our use of fossil fuels is causing dangerous warming, and that therefore we need to do something about it. And that's the really sad thing, is that there are so many people who are totally well-meaning about this, but are just simply misinformed because the politicos, the mainstream media, and so on, control the messaging so people don't get the good information on the other side. Which is why Dr. Roy Spencer, who is a climate scientist, one of the top scientists and climate scientists in the world, he's also a senior fellow of the Cornwall Alliance for the Stewardship of Creation. Roy has come out with an article recently on Fox News defending the president's intention to create a presidential committee on climate security under the National Security Council, to be headed by just one of America's top scientists, Dr. Will Happer of Princeton. And this committee would put the case for both sides, the alarmist side and the skeptic side, on the table and compare the two so that you really have a balanced approach. Dr. Spencer has just written this article in support of doing that. And we have the article on our own website as well at cornwallalliance.org. And Dr. Spencer has done a number of different books. And right now, by the way, Zeb, I hope you don't mind my mentioning this.
No, that's fine.
We are offering to give as our way of saying thank you to anybody who sends a donation to Cornwall Alliance of any amount, literally any amount, one or even all three of Roy's books. Understanding a guide to understanding global temperature data, inconvenient deception, what Al Gore or how Al Gore distorts climate science and energy policy, and then also his book Global Warming Skepticism for Busy People. So if people go to cornwallalliance.org and then click on the donate button, if they will give $75 or more, we'll send all three of those books to them, absolutely free. For a gift under $75, we'll give any one of those that they choose. All they have to do is mention promo code 1903.
Absolutely.
And ask for any one of Roy Spencer's books. They can learn more about this from our newsletter that we put out, and it'll be coming out again several times this week and next. They can subscribe to that totally free at cornwallalliance.org.
Absolutely. With all that being said, and I want you to mention that again real quick at the end of our conversation, but Calvin, I'm going to read a quote to you, and then I'm going to tell you who made the quote, and I think you'll be relatively shocked. Here's the quote in regards to global warming / climate change. Borders, languages, and religions do not separate us. Today, we are telling the truth, and we do not take no for an answer in regards to young people getting involved in climate change and fighting back. That statement supposedly was made by, and this is where I think it's absolutely phony, an 8-year-old student. I don't buy into this, but what it shows me, Calvin, is that the education system in America and around the world is absolutely an advocate for global warming and climate change, and it's going to be hard to beat that when the kids are being taught this in the schools.
You betcha, Zeb. And by the way, there is no way that an 8-year-old penned that originally. He may have taken it from someone else and said, okay, I'm willing to say this and have it go under my name. Though why anybody would think that it gives it extra credibility to come from an 8-year-old, I really don't know. But what you have put your thumb on is exactly right. The education establishment in this country right now is completely given over, not the average classroom teacher, but the leadership of it is given over to statism, to essentially the worship of the state. And, Zeb, that's how the American public education system was founded in the first place back in the early 19th century, was by people who resented the control that Christian churches had over education. And they wanted to change education so that it would prepare people for life in a socialist society. So they started American public education with that purpose. And the whole idea that tax state-supported, state-run education is consistent with liberty is just simply absurd. Who in his right mind ever thought it made any sense whatsoever to entrust to the government the shaping of the minds of the people by whose consent it's supposed to govern? This is why Christians have got to take their children out of Pharaoh's Academy and educate them themselves or hire other Christians in Christian schools to educate them, but no longer entrust the shaping of their minds to the government.
You know, one of the things, and I'm almost out of time, I've got about 4 minutes left here, Calvin, but I absolutely think, and this is my own personal opinion, that the left and their climate change and their agenda is absolutely, I'm going to underline this, anti-biblical, anti-God, and a absolute heresy against God's creation and man. Am I right or wrong?
I think you're right in terms of the people who are sort of the most deeply entrenched in this. There are, as you know, an awful lot of folks, just grassroots, again, to use that term, grassroots folks who don't realize what you just said. They don't realize that the whole notion is anti-biblical, is anti our whole understanding of God, creation, humanity, sin, salvation. They don't realize that the notion that the climate system is so fragile that a minute change in atmospheric chemistry, taking carbon dioxide from 28 thousandths of 1% of the atmosphere to 56 thousandths of 1% of the atmosphere, is going to cause catastrophe. That's totally inconsistent with the biblical teaching that an infinitely wise God designed, an infinitely powerful God created, and an infinitely faithful God sustains the earth and all of its various different systems. And he promised in Genesis chapter 8, after the flood, that as long as heaven and earth endure, seed time and harvest, day and night, summer and winter, cold and heat will not cease. God promised to sustain all the cycles on which life depends. And our tiny, tiny contribution of CO2 to the atmosphere is not going to change that. It's really insulting to God. But most people don't realize that, and of course many people think that it's unscientific to bring your understanding of God and creation into your scientific work. That, of course, is entirely contrary to thinking of the great founders of modern science like Kepler and Galileo and all the others. They all were saying science is the task of trying to think God's thoughts after him.
You know, I really appreciate your taking the time to come on, Kelvin. And again, I want you to reiterate, I've got to have a couple of copies of those books by Mr. Spencer. Tell my audience again how they can obtain really the truth about what's going on with those books and how they can get a hold of them.
Well, you go to cornwallalliance.org. That's cornwallalliance.org. Click on the donate button, and then make a donation of literally any size, and mention promo code 1903, and then ask for any one of the following. Spencer's Guide to Understanding Global Temperature Data, Spencer's Global Warming Skepticism for Busy People, or his Inconvenient Deception, how Al Gore distorts climate science and energy policy.
Absolutely.
And then, for a gift of $75 or more, we will send all three of those. And if people didn't quite get all that info, if they just simply subscribe to our newsletter at cornwallalliance.org, they'll get the information in the newsletter. That'll spell it out for them clearly, and then they'll keep getting educated by issue after issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelvin, we've got time for just one quick call. Caller, quickly. I've only got a minute left. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Well, my thought on this situation is, if you believe in God, and you wholeheartedly do, then what makes you think that God wouldn't protect this intricate planet that he built for us to live on, that he gave us to use to grow strong? And if you don't believe in God, and you believe that when you die you just become matter and that's that, then what are you worried about? I brought that up to a lot of people who talk about climate change, and they sit back and roll their eyes and go, well, That's all I can get. I'll let you go.
All right, Kelvin, respond to the caller quickly, please.
Yeah, if you are a metaphysical materialist, if matter and energy is all that exists, if there is no God, then you cannot provide any rational basis for any ethical claim at all, for any morals. And so, therefore, what you said is right. Who cares? Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die.
What a sad, sad commentary as to what's happening in our world today. Calvin, you've been such a gracious guest all the times you've been here, and I hope you'll consent to come back in the future.
I would be glad to do it, Zeb. Thanks very much.
Calvin Beisner, founder and national spokesman of the Cornwall Alliance for the Stewardship of Creation, a very interesting and very informed guest. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, and I'm going to guarantee you that we're going to have much more with him in the future in regards to so-called global warming and climate change. I chuckle because there's so many people that have bit the hook with the worm of climate change. It's unfortunate. Right now it's time for the weather, and the weather is being brought to you by our friends, and they are busy right now. We're talking about tax time, and we're talking about the best of accounting services. We're talking about Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. The very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this for you, your family, and your business. Please remember the name. Give them a call. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It looks like it's going to be another beautiful week as we make our way towards spring equinox. We are looking at mostly sunny skies for today, expecting a high of 57. A slight breeze, winds out of the east-northeast at about 8 miles an hour. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 56. Winds out of the east, right at around 7 miles an hour. For Tuesday night, mostly clear with a low of 32. For Wednesday, mostly sunny skies, high of 57. Winds are going to be picking up just a little bit. Gusts as high as 22 miles an hour for Wednesday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 35. Then by Thursday, clouds are going to be rolling in. Mostly cloudy skies and a high of 55. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. She always does such a wonderful job. And it's brought to you this hour by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. As I said, I'll bet you they are burning the midnight oil right now in preparation of tax time. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget to get a hold of the best to help you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
Caller. And, during the 1930s, a fellow named Adolf Schicklgruber came up with the idea of creating the master race. Now we've got the Muslim terrorists that are doing the same thing. Every time I see a mosque, especially we have one down here, I'm wondering who is infiltrating that mosque along with the regular people.
You know, Tony, I've said this before on my program. I'm going to say it again. Every person has a right to worship in the place and or the theology that they please. And over the weekend, I had a couple of calls about people saying, well, how are you going to react to that terrible, terrible shooting over in New Zealand? And my statement is this: anytime any radical person or persons takes the lives of innocent people, it is wrong. It is absolutely a heinous crime. And whoever did this should be caught and punished to the most severity of the law. However, that being said, I'm not going to weaken on my stance as to I think that Islam is coming into this country, the United States, and wants to be a very, very powerful player, if you will, in our daily lives and also our government. And I am extremely concerned, and I'm going to keep out speaking in the future in regards to that problem.
You know, one other thing that is a concern is, I might repeat myself on this, but these training camps.
Oh, no.
You never hear anything about it anymore.
Yeah, I know it. And there again, it's all the more reason why I'm concerned. Excuse me. Excuse me, I got a little frog in my throat. All the more reason why I'm concerned as to the naivete and also the blindfolding of the American public so that we don't understand what's happening even here in our country, in Texas, Oregon, New York, and other locations, and why the warnings are being stifled in the news industry. I'm very concerned as to why we're being so gullible as to be shut up by leaders in this country because they're afraid of offending Muslims.
Well, this is what the Muslims were looking for. They want a bunch of chicken littles that are afraid to open their mouth and won't say a word until it's too late. Well, what more is there to say?
Well, I'm going to continue to speak out on this program in an honest fashion and condemn any crime, condemn anything that is in any religion going to hurt anyone else. I'm going to continue to speak out, and Tony, you know I'm not going to weaken on this, and I appreciate your call.
Okay, thanks, Zeb.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Hey, don't forget our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. When you think about life insurance and when you think about health insurance, got to have it, retirement planning, employee benefits, you'd better remember the best. And they're located on Highway 24 in Rupert, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Very, very dedicated and responsive to your needs. And all you need to do to make an appointment is call them at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Once again, a great big reminder, Thursday is Lunch Bunch Day, and we're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley, and our thanks for all of our door prizes, Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's, and more. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Call everybody, get your friends and neighbors. We're going to have a good time like we always do. And by the way, we start with a prayer. We start with the Pledge of Allegiance. We start with the national anthem. That's not going to change. That's not going to change. Come to our lunch bunch at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, 11:30 on this Thursday. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Coming up next hour, we've got John Milkovic, and then at 10:30, the Idaho Legislative Update. And I'm saying, I think, with Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, so stay tuned for that coming up in the next hour. Zeb at the Ranch, and right now, Wheels taking us up to CBS News. Oh, good morning on a Monday. I'm trying to sound bright and cheerful, sitting here in the captain's desk and chair, but I wished I was outside. Beautiful day outside. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations having a great big spring tire sale right now, and also some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to have our guest on the air momentarily, but I want to remind you about Dino Septic Service, and they say, hey, with the warmer weather, you might want to kind of check your lawn a little bit. Look here. Look there. And if you see something strange, you might have trouble with your septic service. You'd better give them a call, and they can come out and pump your septic tank and take care of all the liquid waste removal and the septic inspections and the sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. All of this and more with Dino's Septic Service. They are absolutely the best. They do the job that you and I don't want to do. Absolutely. Give them a call. Number's 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638. Dino Septic Service with that big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Oh, my. You know, this is going to be interesting because I've had this gentleman on before. I like him. He's a good guy, and he's an attorney and an author of the book called Robert Mueller, Errand Boy for the New World Order. And, oh, yeah. He's a Democrat. Good morning, John Milkovic. How are you?
Hey, Zeb. How are you?
I am great. Oh, we lost him. Or I lost myself.
I'll put you through.
Yeah, give me on. Wow. All of a sudden, there was a great big crack, a great big bang, and the headsets and the phone line went boom. And so we'll say that again. Good morning, John Milkovic. How are you?
Zeb, listen, John Milkovic here. Listen, Zeb, that boom was Mueller's report hitting the media or being publicly released, and the explosion is people saying, where is the evidence?
You know, John, the last time I had you on the air,
Look, hitting the public and the media, the explosion is people are saying, what?
yeah, the last time I had you on the air,
I thought you were the top DOJ FBI guy. How come we spend all this time and money and all we get is? Let me suggest this to you. Then I need to shut up and listen to what you have to say because you're a super smart guy. Jesus, or excuse me, it's actually in the Old Testament in Psalms. It says, "The wicked are known. The Lord is known by the judgment which He executeth. The wicked are caught in the work of their own hands. The wicked are caught in the work of their own hands." Now Mueller he's been doing the lead up and the drama and the drums and the mainstream media. And by the way, not all the people in the mainstream media are bad. I'm not saying that, but there's some that are part of the mainstream media. And what do they have to produce? Nothing. And then Congress votes, the House of Representatives votes 420 to 0 and says release it. Guess who's in a jam today? Robert Mueller. He's having to release a report that's supposed to prove that President Trump was conspiring with the Russians, and all he's got is a bunch of, this is my prediction, it's either going to be obvious lies against the president, or it's going to be, as John Dowd, the president's lawyer, calls nickel-dime process crime.
John, I got to ask you, you've always been on the program when you were here the last time, a very honest, straight shooter. And as I said, you're a Democratic state senator in Louisiana. Aren't you going against the main thrust of your party lines by saying what you just said about the Mueller report and also Donald Trump?
Listen, I think every single American needs to start demanding justice and liberty and godliness, return to godliness, the Constitution, and I think that needs to happen regardless of party affiliation. I'm not an alphabet worshiper, D-R-I, I'm not. And really, if you put it to me directly and bluntly, what political party are you really of? I'd say primarily the body of Christ.
Absolutely.
And I think it's time for Christians and patriots in America to call out and demand, holler from the rooftop. This is an attack on a president who is an imperfect man, like everybody else that's ever walked the face of the planet but one, Jesus Christ. And he is actually fighting for America. He's trying to do the right thing. He stood up for unborn babies. He said we will not allow our borders to be destroyed by weaponized immigration. Melania got on to him and he says, look, if there's some kids that are being harmed at the border, we're going to go ahead and spend a whole bunch of money taking care of those kids until we get the situation stabilized. Good job, Melania, and good. That's good listening, Donald Trump. And by the way, and Zeb, this is a going against the code here, but President Trump's supposed to hate Muslims. What president in the last 30 years has done more to protect people that live in the Mideast from terrorists than Donald Trump?
That's true.
He went in there and said, we will wipe out ISIS. ISIS, I actually knew a lady personally that she worked with people that rescued men, women, and children from the ISIS war camps where she said they were being serially sexually abused. So horrendous, you don't even want to talk about it over the radio, like being raped. Yeah, well, and I hate to even use this language, but being sexually abused scores of times a day. And this is the people that President Trump, ISIS is the people that President Trump took out. He was not only protecting Americans from these terrorists in the Mideast, he was actually protecting the people in the Mideast. I said all that to say this. President Trump has got an unfair rap by many in the mainstream media, and some of them are honest, but not all. And I think it's time for us to holler as Americans, stand up and say, look, he's trying to do the right thing, whether you agree with every tweet or everything he does or every way the way he does everything. If he's trying to do right, we need to be praying for him, and we need to be confronting Mueller. That was a long answer.
No. Don't apologize, John. I appreciate your candid remarks. I want to ask you this. Here we have every night on the news, you have either Jerry Nadler or you have Adam Schiff or you have Swalwell out of California, Pelosi, Waters, Booker, all of them hate the president. And, if the Mueller report comes back, we're not going to worry about it. We're going to go and start another investigation or a series of investigations. As a matter of fact, 81...
Huge admission. They already know that there's no proof of Russian collusion in that report. They're already starting on Plan C. Plan A was defeat President Trump in the election. Plan B is Russian collusion. That's gone up in smoke. Now Plan C, let's come up with whether somebody didn't get tipped properly as a waitress in a hotel in Florida. I mean, I think that's an amazing admission. By the way, they're having all these people on there. I'm saying, people, let's start a petition drive. Let's start calling the national networks. Let's put Zeb Bell up there to talk. Zeb, if you want, I'll write a letter to them saying put Zeb Bell on TV.
All I want to do is have honesty and a nice, honest appraisal of what actually is going on in the news, which leads me to the title of your book. You said Robert Mueller, errand boy for the New World Order. Now, give us an explanation again. I know I had you on before talking about this. I want you to do it again. Give us an explanation as to why you said errand boy for the New World Order.
By the way, are you going to, if I give a statement, are you going to compare it with my last interview? And if there's any inconsistencies, am I going to be hauled in before a bunch of lawyers grilling me for 40 hours over 3 days?
No, as a matter of fact, what I will do, though, is I will do this. I urge you to go tell your mom and dad that were sitting in the room with you the last time I had you on the air. I urge you to tell them I said hello.
Okay, buddy. Listen, listen, people can say, what are you, some kind of conspiracy theorist? Well, no, not really. The New World Order, let's just be frank, it's many globalists, financiers, and international bankers, and international politicians here and abroad that want to create a one-world socialist government. And before you call State Senator John Milkovich a conspiracy theorist for using the term like New World Order, wasn't it about 30 years ago that President George H.W. Bush exhorted Americans and the world to join in and participate and submit to a, quote, new world order, unquote? I mean, that was in which our wonderful United Nations dictated economic and internal policies and the laws. Well, the United Nations, there is atrocities going on all over the world. And maybe every once in a while the United Nations has a tepid response that protects people, but I mean, you hear about I have read that over 1 million people have been slaughtered in North Korea, and how many people have had their rights destroyed in Red China with the Uyghurs. How many, is it 100,000, several 100,000, 1 million Uyghurs that are being persecuted, many of them herded into, in World War II, they used to call them concentration camps. What's the UN doing about that? What did the UN do about the killing fields in Cambodia? I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but basically, the New World Order is a one-world socialist plantation and run by the United Nations, which is run by the bankers and crooked international politicians. And it wasn't John Milkovich came up with this term, and it wasn't Zeb Bell, and it wasn't Mark Levin, and it wasn't Alex Jones. It's been around for a long time, and it was used publicly by President George H.W. Bush. I think it was over 30 years ago, but, maybe it was 28, maybe it was 34, 26.
Okay, do the math. Are we beyond the point, in your estimation, John, that electing someone for service to their constituency will never happen again? No,
not if we fight. And listen, you are part of the solution. Americans, we need to get back and in our churches, we need to get back on our knees. You know, people say theology is good, but we need an increased emphasis on neology. America needs to get back on our knees. We need to get back to God. We need to get back to being active in our churches. And, you know, the one small bit of activism that I've really exhorted Americans over the course of talking about Robert Mueller is we need to get our United States congressmen and senators on the phone and say, where are you on this attack on the president? The number one issue in our country is getting back to God. Number two, stopping the genocidal scourge of abortion. Number three is confronting and destroying this anti-constitutional attack on President Trump just because he loves America and he's not part of the deep state globalist insider deep swamp, whatever you want to call it. We need to call our congressmen and say, where are you? You need to be hollering. You need to be calling for an investigation of Robert Mueller's investigation where he threatens people and drives them into bankruptcy and threatens to investigate or indict or imprison their family members in order to get him to say whatever he wants. You need to call your United States Senator and say, what have you done to confront Mueller? Are you just straddling the fence to see how it turns out? If you're not willing to fight for America, fight for our freedoms, and fight for our Constitution, then you need to find another job. You need to be a file clerk in the local life insurance company. But you're not fit for United States Senator. We need more fighters in the Congress and the Senate. And by the way, truthfully, we have some. I think Rand Paul is a constitutionalist. We have Louis Gohmert and Jim Jordan in the House of Representatives, among many others. But for those people that, and this is not, I'm just not basically dissing the Democrats. I am reprimanding some of the Republicans as well. They're not getting off scot-free on this. Those people that are straddling the fence saying, let's see how it goes. Well, hey, come on. We need to demand that they need to take sides, and then they need to get in there and start throwing punches.
John,
we're in case people haven't noticed, we're in a fight for our constitutional life.
Absolutely. John, let me ask you the question about Kamala Harris or Elizabeth Warren, Bernie or Beto O'Rourke, any one of those people and more, with a complete bend in the wind towards socialism. As a Democratic senator in Louisiana, what are your thoughts about the Democratic Party and their platform of being very socialistic?
Well, and you know, it's not my intention at this point to personally publicly denigrate specific individuals. I'll just say socialism is a failed ideology. And really, you know, I know they're making it our colleges, and some people say, and I believe, that our K-12 education through World Core and Common Core and a nationally controlled curriculum is making socialism more and more. There's more and more indoctrination of young people to love socialism. Zeb, you may be aware of the reports that say that over 50% or more, one or more studies have said that 50% or more of our young people now think socialism is a good idea. Well, that's because of their education and what's happening in the media. But the reality is, you know, the model, the economic model and political model that we've been given by God is freedom subject to moral constraints. You don't steal. You don't have unfair weights and balances. You don't deprive the worker of his wage. You do provide for the poor by letting them come to the edges of the fields and get the. I mean, that's all in the Bible. It's freedom subject to certain moral principles. But socialism is something very different. It's like, let's scrap the freedom that God gave us, and let's go ahead and start segueing into a government-owned plantation and slavery where everyone has to beg the government for sustenance. It's you know, when I just talked to someone who had been in Cuba within the last week or two, and, you know, it just, buildings that were once beautiful are crumbling. And the people that got out of there are just, to this day, they got out of there decades ago. They're still furious that the communists stole their country away. Did Cuba have an upper class, a middle class? Yes, they did. But you know what? The thing about it is if you have an upper class, you at least have the possibility of making economic progress. If you have an upper class, you at least have some people that have the wherewithal to help the poor. If you have an upper, lower, and a middle class, you know, there's freedom, there's mobility, there's a sense of community where people have to help, you know, need to help each other, and you have more gross national product, more income, and more more food, more production, more everything in a free enterprise society than you do in a communist state where everything is done to destroy and stultify economic production. I'm sorry, that's kind of I don't mean to bore you to tears. This sound like a Stanford economic analysis, but there's less production in a socialist state. And guess what? I mean, and I've heard people talk that have done Christian missionary work, evangelism in Cuba, and they say the people don't have enough to eat. Can you imagine living on an island where and listen, I know there's hunger in America. I realize that. I know that's reality. But that's America. There's hope. There's food banks. There's charities. There's churches. There's a lot of government intervention. And I know there's a lot of that's a whole other topic. But socialism has failed, and it's a roadway to socialism, to slavery. I'm sorry, that was too long.
No, John, let me ask you, I've only got time for one more question, and I want to talk a little bit about illegal immigration into this country, the massive numbers that they're projecting are going to try to come across our borders this year, and the border wall. Give us a synopsis of your thoughts on border security.
Well, I mean, listen, we're a nation of immigrants. President Trump gets that. And I think I've heard him say, and by the way, I haven't had a chance to drill down and verify it in my own personal research, but he said that last year, 2018, was a large influx of immigrants into America that were allowed legally. So it's not that he's against immigration. He's against weaponized immigration. And I agree. The people that come in need to be people that want to build with us, not people that want to bomb us. They need to be people that reject tyranny, not people that are terrorists. We need people that love God and freedom, not M13. I just read yesterday about, what is this, M13 gang? They stabbed a teenager 100 times.
Oh, my.
And set the youth's body on fire. I mean, my goodness, we need to protect our people, and we need to smash these criminals.
Well, okay, but the border wall itself, $8.6 billion, and yet there have been experts. This morning I read a book and a story about an expert that projected that the wall basically could be paid for in 2 years with the amount of money the American taxpayers are paying to help illegal aliens in the sheltering, their food, etc. The costs are enormous. It's $775 a day for a single teenager. Add that on a month, and it's over $24,000 a month just for these teenagers to be in this country, and multiply that by thousands. We can't afford this.
Well, and I have not analyzed that economic analysis. And listen, I'm not disputing what you're saying at all. I haven't really studied those economic dynamics. But this is what I believe. And let's go back to the Bible. The Old Testament, God said, you'll have strangers in your country. And he said, you can, but guess what? And this is going back to the Bible as a template for society. God says, the strangers will follow your laws. They will follow my laws. They will live by the principles of your country. Of course, the Jews are the template. There's the native people that he's talking about. They're going to live by your rules. They're going to have your values. They're going to worship your God. So, as one of my friends said to me years ago, immigrants can be very good, but they need to learn our language,
yep,
learn our history,
yes,
and pledge allegiance to the red, white, and blue.
Yes. You know what? Anytime you're going to run for a national office, you've got my vote. John Milkovich, attorney, Democratic state senator, and author of the book, Robert Mueller, Errand Boy for the New World Order. And he grew up in Roundup, Montana, up in God's country. He's got a great family up there. Thanks. Appreciate it, John.
And Zeb, we need to get you on national TV talking about all this, because, they've had their say. Now let's start calling Fox and CNN and demand that they put Zeb Bell on TV.
God bless you, John. Come back soon, please.
Okay, buddy. God bless you.
Thank you. Really appreciate having him on the air. And he's a straight shooter, a real straight shooter. And like I said, he's very proud to be a Democratic state senator down in Cajun country, down in Louisiana. And I'm happy to have him on the program. John Milkovich, and he'll be back. You can bet on that. Right now, let's see, what else have I got to do? I got to tell you, on Thursdays, we've got our special segment, Cassia County School Days, and it's brought to everybody by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got all kinds of birthday gifts, and they got all the spring clothing there. Think spring, and all kinds of games and puzzles and toys, and don't forget, always free gift wrapping, and they've got the Cherokee scrubs. I could go on and on and on. They've got everything. It's a family store. Stop in there today. Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and don't forget, they bring you Thursdays at 10:10 Cassia County School Days, so you be sure and stop in and see them today. Once again, a reminder that we're going to have Lunch Bunch this Thursday. It's this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner. Our thanks go out again for all the gift certificates that we have from Walmart and Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's. The list goes on. But we need you there. Come on, call your friends and neighbors, Aunt Martha, Uncle Fred, get them all there on Thursday at 11:30 for Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant in Burley. Right now, we're going to send this back to my old partner, and that's Wheels over at our main studios. I'll be back with the legislative update in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
I want to say a great big thank you, because I know we have very few times left to say a big thank you to Handy Truck Lines at 400 West, 100 South of Paul. And they just jumped in again this year and sponsored our Idaho Legislative Update on my program. And, of course, Handy Truck Lines located at 400 West, 100 South of Paul, and they've been serving businesses in the communities here in the Northwest for over 90 years with the best of transportation services. Honest Carrier partnered with many similar carriers to satisfy all your transportation needs, and I'm very proud to say they were an excellent sponsor for our Idaho Legislative Update. And I understand we've had a change in the personnel, if you will, this morning. And with us on the Idaho Legislative Update is an old friend, and that's Representative Fred Wood. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Good. I'm sorry. I guess I made a mistake. I thought Scott was going to be on the program, but there was a change.
Well, that was true until about 7:30 this morning, and in short order, he had a couple of major difficulties that only the Speaker can take care of with personnel in the legislature. So you've got a pinch hitter this morning.
Well, and a very good one, as a matter of fact, that hits well over 500. I'll get you up to the plate right now. I guess for a lack of understanding about what really we were going to talk about this morning, I'll put the ball in your court and say, hey, what's left to solidify during this legislative session? What are the highs, what are the lows, and what jobs still need to be done?
Well, there's two big jobs. One is the funding, the education funding formula going forward. That is still a work in progress. The last I knew, there was no real obvious pathway forward. People are still arguing on various sides of that, and it's not something that I can speak to fluently, because I'm not in the middle of that, but that is one of the two big issues left undecided so far in this session. The other one is Medicaid. As you know, the Senate passed the appropriation bill for Medicaid, and it's over on the House side, but the House has not been able to agree on the so-called sideboard bill going forward. We actually introduced another bill this morning. We'll have a hearing on that on Wednesday, expected to be up on the floor if we can get it there, for debate on Thursday.
And apparently the Senate, the last I heard, the Senate was going to kick out their own sideboard bill this afternoon. Now, what happens to that and whether or not they actually do that, I don't know. Now, those are the two big pieces that at this point in time, there's not an obvious pathway forward. And the governor, of course, has told us that we're not going home without funding Medicaid expansion. So there's a couple of real major issues left going forward. On top of that, there are 2 or 3 bills that are up for discussion that I know that the repatriation bill for overseas money that is being held, and that the federal tax bill actually allowed companies to bring that back onshore and pay a lesser tax. That bill came out of committee this morning unanimously. It's a very complicated bill. How that fares on the floor, I don't know. And how it fares in the Senate, I don't know. There's also the bill that, House Bill 259, where we decide what we're going to do with the increased tax revenue coming in from sales tax that will now be captured. And apparently there's a major fight going to occur on the floor over that as to who's going to get that money and where it's going to go. So we're at the point in time in the legislature's step where I can't tell you from hour to hour exactly what's going to happen.
Well,
that's part of the unfinished business that's left.
All right, now let me ask you a question right there, because you brought up a subject that I want you to elaborate on. You said the increased tax revenue. Okay, stop right there, and I would inject, why can't that money, or a percentage of that money, go right back into the state of Idaho's infrastructure on our roads and bridges? If there's a need, which there is, and there's the finances, which there are, why can't we make it applicable to the infrastructure?
A number of people want to do that, but as you can imagine, there's a number of people that don't. When I said that there's going to be a significant floor debate up on the floor when that comes up, about exactly how those funds should be allocated, whether part of them should go to the local governments, whether part of or all of them should go to the rainy day account, whether some of them should be used for tax relief, whether some of that should be directly put into the transportation infrastructure. And that is one of the options that people have talked about, is putting it directly into transportation infrastructure, as you suggest. I don't know where the votes are on that, and we won't know until we get to debating that and people have to vote on that. But that's an excellent option for those funds. I'd rather see it go there than some of the suggestions I have heard.
It sounds to me, and you're 130 miles away, but it sounds to me like you're almost ready to set your hair on fire, because there's a lot of issues that have not yet been settled and don't look like there's an easy way to get these settled.
Well, there is no easy way to get them settled. It's because a lot of people have different ideas about what should happen. And that's why, of course, the education funding formula hasn't been resolved yet, and that's why Medicaid hasn't been resolved yet. I think that with respect to Medicaid, most people understand that, yes, we do have that, and we do need to fund that. The issue is the sideboards that we're going to put on it ahead of time to make sure that we don't bust the budget, et cetera. So that's where the big disparity there is.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's a couple of 3 issues here that there is no easy pathway forward, and it's going to take some real collaboration in trying to figure out
where that sweet spot is to get enough votes to get it passed.
Okay, now, Fred, you and I, we've visited about this privately and then on the air many, many times. You use the terminology, and I'm not trying to pin you down, but I want you to be more explanatory to the public, sideboard bills with regards to Medicaid. I think they should be made aware as to what some of these sideboard, if you will, provisions are that need to be addressed. Explain that a little further.
You bet. What we're talking about with sideboards is when Proposition 2 passed, all the proposition said was, and if you remember correctly, it was a very short, simple proposition. Expand Medicaid so that those people who make between 0% and 138% of the federal poverty level would be eligible for Medicaid. Above that, they would have to go and purchase insurance either on the exchange or through their employer or whatever. Well, that's completely open-ended. That would mean that every single individual, regardless, could apply for Medicaid. Well, there are several things that we wanted to do, one of which is to say that an expanded Medicaid has the obligation of 90% federal funding and 10% state funding, where regular Medicaid is about 70% federal and 30% state. Well, at 30% state for the expanded population, that would bankrupt the state. So we can't do that. So one of the provisions that we would put on it is to say that if the federal government's participation ever fell below 90%, as currently stated in federal statute and as promised, then we would immediately be out of there. Secondly, if the U.S. Supreme Court overturned that provision of the Affordable Care Act, we would be out of there. Next, that we would have self-identification and screening for drug use, alcohol, tobacco, recreational drugs, or other kinds of drugs. And that if that were found, that then you would be referred on for treatment. Another one is work requirements. What kind of work participation is going to be required? What kind of work program, what kind of educational benefits, etc., will the federal government pay for, hopefully, to get people better paying jobs and to lift them above 138% of the federal poverty level, to get them off of Medicaid and off of that program. Another one is, at this point in time, freestanding psychiatric facilities are not allowed to qualify for, by federal law, they're not allowed to qualify for Medicaid benefits to treat patients with. There's a waiver that you can apply for that. Well, if we don't have that, that again is a budget buster. So there's various conditions that we need to put on it to make absolutely sure that we control the budget with respect to Medicaid and Medicaid expansion going forward, so that we don't wind up with unexpected budget problems and push up against budget constraints that we've kind of planned out for the next few years.
Fred,
That's what that's about when I say a sideboard bill.
Let me ask you this question, and I'm just saying this as an outsider looking in the window. But shouldn't some of these or all of these conditions regarding Medicaid expansion, shouldn't they have been looked at, studied, and perhaps known to a certain degree before we put Prop 2 on the ballot for the vote for Medicaid?
Well, again, had the citizens asked me to write the Proposition 2, yes. But they never asked the legislature or anybody else when they wrote that proposition. And so we don't have those on the current proposition. So that's what, or Proposition 2 doesn't have that. So that's what we're doing now.
I see.
And the problem is that some people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
There's a real difference of opinion up here about what to do with that. And there's about 3 different camps. The camp that there's a bunch of legislators that don't want to do anything. there's a bunch of legislators that want to make absolutely sure that there's all of those that I mentioned, but then don't make the work requirements stringent enough to where you kick a whole bunch of people off, because if you do that, you wind up like Arkansas, where it's in court right now, along with Kentucky and a couple of others, and I fear that the courts are just going to strike that down. What you want to do is you want to, in my opinion, get people to improve their lot in life so they'll get off of Medicaid to start with.
Amen.
And then, of course, there's the ones that really want to clamp down on it and want to make it so that most people don't qualify. And interestingly enough, there's a number of people in that camp. So, that's what the big argument is about at this point in time, Zeb.
Well, it seems to me, and I don't mean to beleaguer this fact, but you and I, again, have talked about this many times, that if you've got a camp that says don't do anything, we live in a society where we're creating a lack of responsibility. We're creating a lack of responsibility. We're creating people not to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. Then we're creating a society not to go out and work and improve themselves. I'm one of the tougher ones that says, hey, I've worked all my life to pay for the things that I want in life. Why should other people get it for free if they're able and capable of going out and earning them? I guess maybe this is where I'm coming from.
Well, Zeb, if you want to argue, you're going to have to go talk to somebody else. I'm in the same camp, okay? I mean, and I think we can certainly craft this such that the people who are truly able-bodied, the people who ought to have a job and ought to be working,
absolutely,
really need to be doing that. And the ones that can't or are unfit because of mental conditions or whatnot, that they're not. That's the problem that, quite frankly, Arkansas, et cetera, ran into.
Yes.
Is they made the simple reporting requirements so stringent that people were missing reporting, not because of their own fault, but because the reporting requirements alone were stringent, and that's what wound them up in court. And that's what we don't want to do, is something like that. But we want able-bodied people to be out there working, or you don't.
When you address these three different camps or three different philosophies on this Medicaid issue, are they dug in and their boot heels are dragging, or is there going to be some kind of a give and take attitude in the next couple of days, or what's going to happen here?
We're going to find out on Thursday, because so far nobody's had to make a vote. And now the temperature is warming up, the grass is getting green. I was home this weekend, and, the ground's thawed out. You can start to see a little green tinge to some of the fields and stuff, and everybody's getting antsy to go home. So the first test vote is going to be this Thursday. We've got the stringent bill up there on Thursday, if we can get it up there out of committee. And if we can, then we'll have the test votes, and we'll see how just dug in people are, or whether or not there's enough room there for tweaking it here and tweaking it there, and fixing it so that it's not stringent, and we can not get in trouble with the courts and get it out of there.
Fred, I would not want to have your job, and I mean that. It takes dedication, especially when the sunshine comes out and the temperatures start to climb. There you are, sitting up there in Boise trying to iron these things out. Any anticipation and prognostication as to what might happen over the next couple of weeks? Are you looking for a certain end date for the session? Anything on that?
The end date is the 27th, or at most the 29th of March. Now that's 12 short days away, and I know that leadership in both houses are pushing hard for that. Zeb, I wouldn't prognosticate this year. We're going to push like heck to be out of there. It simply costs money to stay there longer than that. It's not something we want to do. But boy, I'll tell you, I just don't know this year.
I tell you what, in regards to the Medicaid funding, I would appreciate it if you would call me if there's any breakthroughs or crumbling of walls, and I'll put you on the air immediately, regardless of the subject matter that I'm talking about, and we'll get it on the air if you'd let me know.
I'll do that, Zeb. No matter what day it is, Monday through Thursday, I'll give you a call in the morning before we start, and then figure out a time maybe when I could come on for 5 or 10 minutes, just give you a little quick update. And we'll have to see who shows up next Monday. I'll try and get Scott on if I can, because you've not talked to him in a long while.
Right.
If not, Kelly or, and depending, I may have a bunch of bills on the floor then. So we'll see who shows up.
Fred Wood, I appreciate you. Representative Fred Wood, and does a great job representing us up at the Idaho Legislative Update. Thank you, sir, and God's blessings to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Zeb. Talk to you later.
Wow. It sounds like they've got some real hills to climb up there at the legislative session. And I want to say again, thank you to Representative Fred Wood, and thank you also to the sponsor of this segment, the Idaho Legislative Update, Handy Truck Lines, and 400 West, 100 South of Paul. I thank Clay and the entire family for all their support. And they're very proud of the good men and women our area continually sends to the legislative session. And again, Handy Truck Lines, pleased to be serving the businesses and the communities all over the Northwest. Over 90 years in operation. Handy Truck Lines, thank you very much. Right now, wow, it sounds like they've got a lot of things cooking up there. There's a lot of things cooking, but nothing's done. Whew. Let's go to the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. And the telephone number, 324-7657. Or you can go to the website, scarrowsmeats.com. Oh, boy. I tell you, all the delicious meats, the marinated pork ribs just melt in your mouth great. Tri-tips and all the different bacons and the breakfast sausages. And my favorite, the bratwurst. I got to call Don and have him come over and do a little deal here live on my program. Oh, by the way, bring some bratwurst with you, would you? Absolutely great meats from Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
It looks like it's going to be another beautiful week as we make our way towards spring equinox. We are looking at mostly sunny skies for today, expecting a high of 57. A slight breeze, winds out of the east-northeast at about 8 miles an hour. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 50. Tomorrow, sunny skies, expecting a high of 56. Winds out of the east, right at around 7 miles an hour. For Tuesday night, mostly clear with a low of 32. For Wednesday, mostly sunny skies, high of 57. Winds are going to be picking up just a little bit. Gusts as high as 22 miles an hour for Wednesday night. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 35. Then by Thursday, clouds are going to be rolling in. Mostly cloudy skies and a high of 55. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Range.
She does a phenomenal job. Thank you very much, Gina. And, of course, our weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am wonderful. What can I do for you?
Oh, I was listening to your broadcast. They talk about this climate change and global warming and doing away with the fossil fuels. But it seems like, in my opinion, because I deal with all this EPA regulation, and they're trying to clean up our air with the chemicals, especially with all heavy equipment with this fuel after treatment for the fuel for the exhaust systems, and that's nothing but a pain in the guy's neck besides being real expensive. And that causes our inflation to go up. Everything costs more.
I agree. You know, I'm just going to come right out and say this, and I want to quickly get your opinion because I've only got about a minute left. But putting the decks in the diesel is absolutely, to me, it's one of the dumbest things and costly items and doesn't have to happen. It's just another government bureaucracy gone wild.
So why can't we cut EPA's budget by about 75% and get them to come to some terms?
Well, I would love to say that we the people, of course, those first three words of our Constitution, that we still have power, but it doesn't look like we do because nobody listens to we the people. Caller, I'm going to ask you a favor. Would you call me back tomorrow morning, first hour? I would love to have you come on my program again, and we'll talk about it when I have more time, but I'm up against the clock right now, and I don't want to seem rude to you.
No, that's fine, because I couldn't remember your number. I thought I had it in my phone. So that's not a problem. When they was talking about that, they have no idea the implications.
No, I agree.
I'm in the transportation business, and I've spent thousands to try and keep this stuff running.
Now, I tell you what, please, I've got to go do a Les Schwab commercial right now, and then I've got to wrap it up. But call me tomorrow morning. You're very, very sharp on this. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a big spring tire sale right now. Oh, man, it just makes you feel good. Spring tire sale. You better believe it. You can save a lot of money on the best of tires, whether it's the Eclipse tire or the Ultra Z900s for your car, or for your pickups and SUVs, the Open Country HTs or the Open Country AT2, all the different tread designs, all the different sizes for your kind of driving. Stop in and see them today, and don't forget the very best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. All of this and the best of service. From your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I got to run. I'm late, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06, and we'll saddle the horse for 3 hours and ride till 11. Zeb at the ranch, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. Adios. We'll see you tomorrow morning.